Joe Ducard here, and I want to talk about the 10 biggest texting mistakes that you may be making. So when you're sending text messages to a girl, trying to get a date, after you got her phone number, there's definitely some common mistakes that I see lots of guys run into. So I want to help you avoid those mistakes in this video and also give you ways to cure those mistakes, right? So you don't make them in the future and you have more success in your texting and then setting up dates. So I got them broken down into the first 5 and the second 5. Let's jump into the first 5 here. Now, the first biggest mistake that I see over and over again, and the first questions I'll ask and when a guy is having some trouble texting is, what was your initial interaction? If there was a bad initial interaction, then you're going to get a crappy number. You're going to get what we call a pity number. Okay, if there's a really short interaction that's a little awkward and you pressure a girl into getting a phone number, a lot of times she'll give you a pity number, and the pity number she'll often not respond, and you definitely won't get her back out again. So if there's a bad initial interaction, the best thing you can do is have a solid initial interaction. I always tell guys, do as much work as you can in person. Let's get that back down there. Do as much work as you can in person to have a solid interaction. Have her share information about herself, have some good humor, some banter back and forth, maybe some movement, spend some time together, the whole nine. The more you do, even if things escalate physically pretty quickly, the more you get done initially, the easier the texting is going to be. So I definitely just wanted to say that and put that out there. And, you could meet girls off of dating apps or something like that too. But, I prefer to meet them in person and have a solid interaction in person and get as much of that done as I can and have that be super solid. So that's the first thing. The second big mistake that I see guys make is running away after getting the number, okay? If you're having a good interaction, you get the number, you think that that's the gold, that's what you need, and then it's like, okay, got your number, nice talking to you, see you later. Now, a lot of times the interaction may be coming to a natural close. She may have to go somewhere, you may be going somewhere, and you get a number at the end. That does happen, and that's fine. But I like to get a number when things are going well a little sooner and then talk to them as long as you can. Even if she does have to head out and you get her number, try to make the interaction go a little bit longer and try to get some more things going on after you get that number. There's a great dating coach back in the day used to talk about how the longer amount of time that you spend in a frame, the stronger that frame becomes. Okay, so if the frame is, I like this guy and I gave him my number, do you want that frame to happen at the end, right? Oh, I like this guy, I gave him my number, and that's over. Or what if you got the number earlier? Oh, I like this guy, I gave him my number, and now I'm still talking to this guy, right? The longer amount of time that you spend in that frame, the better. Another big issue is waiting too long to text. I mentioned in my other video that I like to get her number right on the spot and text her right there. So I open up the messages, start a new message, and then shoot her a text right there on the spot and get the text thread going right there in that moment. You could text the whole night long. I did this Saturday actually with one of the women that I met. I texted her that night. We had some back and forths, and then she had stopped responding. And then the next day she messaged me first and asked what I was up to that day. Okay, so I like to get these texts going right away. And the longest I'll wait is the next day, right? So all the time I try to text them right on the spot and get these things going. And you want to build and capitalize on momentum. Another big issue guys struggle with is getting lost when what I call texting land. So what I mean by that is that you are just getting caught up in the texting, sending stuff back and forth, trying to build a connection, do all this work through the text, and they forget that the whole point of texting is to meet her in person. The whole point of this is we want great experiences in person, and we want to connect with somebody in person, not over the text message. Yeah, it does feel fun some nights to have some little back and forth with the texting, but don't get caught up in those little dopamine hits when the real glory is in person. That's where the real juice is. So don't get lost in texting for weeks and weeks and weeks. Put girls with decisions and say, hey, you want to meet up or not? Because I can't tell you how many times, and I'm telling you this out of experience, I've gotten lost very deep into texting land, and we wound up never meeting up. And I always look back and say, man, why did I waste so much time texting that girl? Why did I waste so much time texting that girl? So that is My biggest texting mistake I've made, even as recently as the last few years, is just getting lost in those texts back and forth and nothing ever comes from it. She winds up going away and you just wasted your time, man. So capitalize on that momentum. Don't wait too long and make things happen. Another thing is being too available. This comes also from a lack of abundance, which I'll talk about later. Is, if she's writing and you're writing back right away. Sometimes, actually this weekend I was very busy. I'd met a few women. I hung out with a couple. I had a busy weekend as far as my dating life is concerned. And there were a couple of girls that I was talking to that I'd actually forgot to write back to, because I was hanging out with another girl, actually both nights I was hanging out with women. So I was too busy to respond to some messages. And the girls wound up texting me again and asking me to hang out, actually moving things forward, which I thought was kind of funny, because if I had nothing going on, I was sitting home by myself, I'd be waiting for that next message to come through. And I'd be so available to write her back right away. And whether she knows it consciously or unconsciously, if someone's too available, that's not somebody who women are going to be attracted to. They want somebody who's busy, has other things going on, and that number one attraction switch is a guy who already has women in his life. The guy who has abundance. So you don't want to be too available. Let's do the next 5 here. So the next 5 is big mistakes, taking things personally. We all get ghosted. We all do it too, right? A lot of guys, we do it after we wind up hooking up with women and talking to them for a bit, and then maybe we don't like them, and then we wind up ghosting too. I mean, everybody does it nowadays. No one really has the balls to tell the truth. I try to do it as often as I can, but if it's something quick, you've got a number, and there's not a lot of investment, then ghosting is what people do nowadays. So don't take it so personally. Everybody's doing it. Everybody has it done to them as well. So it goes both ways. And the quicker it happens, the less they know about you. So you can't really take it that personally. Another huge mistake, which may be one of the biggest ones, especially if you're watching this video, is overthinking the power of texting. So many guys think that texting is the holy grail. If I could just text her, there's people make so many videos and all these things around. Hey, look, I'm making this video because guys are searching and want advice on texting. But at the end of the day, and I always mention this, spending that time in person, going out in person. I was out this Saturday. I wound up getting a few very solid numbers and having some great experiences with women right there on the spot in person. Way better than if I had been texting girls from dating apps for 3 weeks, right? You really, in person is so much more powerful than texting. Texting is just a logistical tool to set things up to see her again. So don't overthink the power of what can I get done over texting. I always say texting is like showing up to a battle with a water gun, where being in person is like showing up with your full arsenal and your whole army, right? So just that, texting is just the water gun. Never forget that. Another big issue, guys, another mistake that guys make often, I've been guilty of this before too, is trying to sexualize or pressuring the meetup. So a lot of guys will try to say, hey, when I get together with this girl, maybe I want to get physical or something like that. So they'll start to try to sexualize things over a text message, right? Or they'll say, hey, why don't we just go, let's meet up. Why don't you come straight over to my house, or whatever it may be. And it puts too much pressure on the girl. You want to keep things cool, keep things casual, and don't pressure her to do anything she doesn't want to do or hasn't decided that she wants to do yet. Yeah, she may want to get physical with you at some point, but if you are trying to push for that and get a contract signed before it happens, it's going to put too much pressure. So you want the meetup to be very chill, very casual, very low pressure. And then when you're in person, then you do your thing. Then you escalate, you see if there's chemistry there, and you can make a much better decision. And she'll make a decision based on how she feels when you're in person. So don't try to get a contract signed. Don't make the meetup a really big deal and some big pressure date. Make it something cool. Make it something casual. Make it no big deal whether she shows up or not. She doesn't want a guy who's gonna be mad and resentful and all those other things. So do not pressure her to meet up with you. Mention it, have it be something casual, and go from there. Another thing too to remember about texting is we often get a false abundance, and women are very guilty of this. I see women that they're out sometimes and they're on their phones. I know some women who, they have the dating apps and they have these guys they're messaging off these dating apps, but I hear the same complaint from women is, oh, I message back and forth and we wind up never meeting up, right? Because it's a false abundance. Just because you're texting somebody doesn't mean that you have actual options. So you want to have those real world actual options in abundance, which we'll talk about next, and not be so reliant. Yeah, you may be texting a few girls on dating apps or Instagram, but how many of them are you actually have in person in real life? So you need to fill the funnel with real people and real women and real options. And like I said before, in person is going to be so much more important than texting. And you need actual abundance, a big mistake, the biggest mistake of all. And I had made this recently. I was back on the dating apps for a couple months. And I was like, well, I'm not going out as much. Let me just use the apps. And I had that false abundance, and I was too available, and I was getting lost in texting. I was making all these mistakes because I had the false abundance, and I didn't have as much actual abundance for a few weeks there. So what I did was I started living my life and staying busy. I refocused my goals and made my goals back on my work and my business and my health. And I also went out and found other options. I made sure I got out once, if not 2 nights a week, met people, and I wound up having way more success in the last couple of weeks just by going out than I did from over a month on dating apps. So the actual abundance helped me to do the right things over text, and the more success I had, success breeds success. There's no way around that. When things are going well, you have momentum. It just comes off of you. You do the right things. You say the right things. So having those options, staying busy with your real life, working on yourself first, and having other goals besides women. If you're doing all those things, you will be less available. You will not get lost in texting land. You'll make those decisions. You won't take things personally. You won't pressure the meetup because you can talk to somebody else. You will do all these right things if you have the actual abundance. So definitely get out there. Fill your funnel. You could screenshot this as well. Let me open this back up for you. You could screenshot this if you want to take this down. But filling your funnel and meeting good people in real life and not taking that texting so seriously and analyzing every little thing, and you'll have a lot more success with your texting. So I hope you enjoyed the video.